Thank you all so much for being here with me today. I'm Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that's a little bit different for us, hurricane preparedness. This came to my attention because I was looking for news articles, and I found some news articles that were talking about the fact that there's a lot that you have to do differently when you have a child with special needs and it's hurricane season. So how to be prepared for that. So I hope that you enjoy this topic today. I can't see you or hear you since we're in webinar mode, so feel free to eat your lunches or whatever you need to do. And if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat box. I will get to as many questions as I possibly can. We are going to send everybody who registered for today's webinar an email later on today, and you'll get a copy of the slides. You'll also get a link to the recording on our YouTube channel. And we have a podcast now. So if you happen to be listening on our podcast and you would like a copy of these slides, you can just email us, contact@cpgcares.net, and we will go ahead and send you the slides and the link to the recording if you would like that. So Consolidated Planning Group, who are we? Why are we doing this? Well, we are a holistic special needs planning firm. We're located just outside of Houston, Texas, and we serve families all across the United States. When we say we're a holistic firm, we're talking about helping families with things like special needs planning, benefits for their children, how to save money for the future and not jeopardize those benefits. We're talking about life insurance, investments, taxes, growing your wealth and how to pay for your retirement, but not only your retirement, but taking care of your child who might not be able to work once you're gone. How are you going to do that? We have over 30 years of experience in insurance and securities, financial services, things like that. We're members of the $1 Million Roundtable. We are also members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we are nationally certified as Social Security advisors. The owner of our firm has 4 kids, and 2 of them have special needs, and that's why we do what we do, because we really live, breathe, and work in this community on a daily basis. So we are here to help. Families come to us for special needs planning. And when we talk about that, we're thinking of things like protection plans for your family, for any of the unexpected twists and turns that life can take. We're talking about lifetime care plans and how your family is going to be cared for, all of the members of your family, even once you're gone. And that includes things like the cost of care and planning for that for the future. We help families understand what needs to be done when their child turns 18 and that period of transitioning from a minor to a legal adult. You know, even though they're still our babies, they're now adults in the eyes of the law, and things change, a lot changes. And you need to make sure that you're ready and set up to be able to take those changes in stride. And again, not jeopardize any of the benefits that your child could get through Social Security or through the state or the federal government. We're also here to advocate for families and to educate families. I went to college to be an English teacher. I didn't love working in middle schools, but I do love educating people and educating families so that when you go through these things, hopefully it will be much easier on you and you'll be able to find your way with sure footing and get through the maze of special needs planning. So I like to point out that you're truly in the right place when you're listening to our webinars. Sometimes we bring in experts from other areas or other companies to talk with. Sometimes we at Consolidated Planning Group present the information. But did you know that there are over 263,000 financial advisors across the United States? And that's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Over 263,000 advisors. And out of all of those, I'm sorry, I'm just going to delete this spam from our chat. There we go. Okay. Out of all those 263,000 financial advisors across the United States, fewer than 200 of them focus on special needs planning. That's less than 0.1%. So truly, it is a small niche of folks that can help and can really give you the best guidance when it comes to finances, investments, insurance, and planning for special needs loved ones. So with that, hurricane season is right now. We don't currently have any major storms heading our way that I know of. But you never know when the morning news is going to report that something is stirring up and headed our way. So it's really important that you think ahead about what is going to happen if, or the next time, a hurricane forms in the Gulf and heads towards Texas or Louisiana or Florida, or even if you live on the coast, on the East Coast, maybe a hurricane can hit over there and get you guys. So you have to have a little bit more forethought and more planning than a normal household would. So hurricane season goes from June 1st to November 30th. And the fact is that historically, community and organizational evacuation plans don't really take into account the needs of older people or people who have disabilities. And when things like this happen, it's a tragedy and it's scary and it's intense and there's a lot to think about. And being prepared and being ready is going to help keep more people alive. So that's super important. That's what we want. Let's talk a little bit about storm anxiety. Your children might be feeling a little bit worried. They might hear the news or hear you talking about a storm coming, or even as storms begin, even with rain showers and thunderstorms, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And that's so common. It's not just tiny kids who are afraid of thunder and lightning. And you shouldn't be dismissive of your loved one's feelings, especially if there's an intellectual or a developmental disorder or an emotional disorder that makes it really difficult for them to just relax and stay calm and, try to ignore it. They might become focused on the storm. So you need to let them know that they are going to be safe. You're going to be there to help and to take care of them. And you've done the right things to plan in case you aren't there to help and to take care of them. So really, having your family members help you with your storm preparedness, with your hurricane preparedness is a great way to help them see that, yes, we've got this covered. My adults are taking care of me, my loved ones, my team is here to watch out for me. And we can talk about it ahead of time, prepare ahead of time, and communicate so that when things do happen, if there's a major storm, we have good communication and good decision making. We know what to do. But the most important thing is just keep calm and plan ahead. Don't let me forget. I just want to remind you, don't forget, put questions or comments in the chat box and I will get to as many of those as I can. So here's some ways to help calm the anxiety that might surround an incoming storm, whether it's for a small child or a child with a disability, or even an adult who is anxious about storms, maybe somebody who's been through one of the big hurricanes in the past. First of all, prepare, think ahead, make a safety plan, practice your safety plan. That really helps people feel in control of the situation. Try to stick to your routine as much as possible, because when you have too many changes all at once, that really adds to the stress that your loved one is feeling. So, keep your routines normal. Don't change everything all at once because of some changes, right? Keep the day going on as normal. Discuss what is happening with them and let them tell you, their feelings or their concerns or their thoughts about what's happening. You don't have to let them know about every single storm that's brewing out in the ocean, but, maybe, hey, there's a storm that has been named and it's entered the Gulf of Mexico and is possibly heading towards Texas. So let's start getting ready. You don't want it to be a big surprise. Oh my gosh, we need to leave right now, because that's, so jarring. But leading up to a storm coming in, or if there's mention of needing to evacuate or anything like that, start talking about it a few days ahead of time so that you can, get that communication out there. And then distraction. Distraction always helps. Things like singing and dancing and playing games and reading stories, coloring, anything that you enjoy doing with your loved ones can really help them keep their mind off of their troubles, their worries, their concerns about an incoming storm, and focus on having a good time and just going about daily living, daily life. So to be prepared and to be better prepared, everybody needs to do their part and plan for disasters like hurricanes. Individuals, whether they have disabilities or special needs or not, can really help decrease the impact of these storms by planning ahead and taking steps needed before this event occurs. So think about what is available in your community. What are your capabilities and your needs, or your loved ones' capabilities and needs? Are they able to read news stories or listen to news stories or watch the news to get the important information that they need? Are they able to pack a bag to go on their own? Are they able to call for help if they need it? Or do you need to have systems in place to make sure that that stuff gets taken care of? Is your loved one able to evacuate themselves? Or do you need to set up supports for that to make sure that they get out of the situation if they need to? And prepare, your evacuation plan, and prepare a kit for supplies and things like that, so that it's ready to go when needed. So here are some ways to stay informed about any natural disasters, hurricanes, things like that might come up. Know what disasters could affect your area. Maybe you're not really worried about a hurricane. Maybe you're in an area where an earthquake might hit, or tornadoes, or catastrophic flooding, or something like that. Know what could happen in your area and how you would deal with those different situations. Who do you call if you need help with evacuation or sheltering in place? There are links here. You're going to be able to click them when you get these slides later on today. These all pretty much go to the National Weather Service and some tips from them. You might want to get a weather radio and have that available in your house. They even offer weather radios that have maybe bright flashing lights to help alert people who are hard of hearing, or loud alarms for people who might need that. They have audio so that if you can't read the notice, you can hear it. There's a lot of different kinds of weather radios available out there. There's also mobile alerts on your cell phone that you can get. And there are local groups that you can sign up for those alerts. There's even an app through FEMA, and it gives you alerts from the National Weather Service. And you can even put in different locations. So for me, I live outside of Houston, Texas. Many of my family members live here, but my son went away to college in Chicago. So I can set up an alert for Chicago as well, so that I could know if anything is going on there where my child is. Or, my stepdad who lives in Minnesota, I can have an alert for him. You can have up to 5 different locations set up on these apps, which is really cool. But what I want to remind you of is don't overdo it. Okay. There are some people who are oblivious to the weather, to what's going on around them. If it's not raining right now when they walk outside, they wouldn't know that it was going to rain that day or that it was supposed to rain. Watch the weather forecast, but you don't have to be on your weather app all the time, checking it over and over and over and constantly watching the weatherman on your news channel, because it can be a little bit of overkill, and it can raise the tension and anxiety if you do it too much. That's one thing that we learned right after September 11th, that all of the news footage of the attack that we went through that day being played over and over and over on TV, many kids thought that it was actually happening over and over and over again because they kept showing it on TV. So they thought that it was worse. Not that I don't know how it could be worse than it already was, but they thought that this was something that was happening every day. Well, clearly it only happened once, and once is plenty. But if you overdo it with storm warnings and watching the weather, children and people who are anxious about the storms could think, there's so much coverage about this hurricane that's coming. It must be really, really bad. When, maybe it's not. Maybe you're just overdoing it a little. So try to stay away from that. I want you to think about building up a personal support network. You should be doing this for your life in general, having a group around you of people that can help. We kind of think of it as a bullseye. There's you and your immediate family and your loved ones right in the middle of that bullseye. Of course, you are your strongest network. And then the next tier out is maybe close family, friends, and other relatives who are close by, who can help, who know you, who know your situation. Next comes maybe neighbors who you don't really know so well, but you could call on them in a crisis. Maybe a little further out might be teachers and doctors and lawyers and attorneys and those people that are paid to help you and to be part of your support network. So think about those people and using them in a situation like this. Create your network of trusted individuals and think about who can really help you during an emergency situation. If you have a network that is available to you, make sure that they're helping you and taking part in your preparedness plan, that they're familiar with your functional abilities, your limitations or your child's limitations, and establishing a solid relationship with other people. That has been proven to be one of the most effective ways to plan against a disaster. And don't forget too, that a disaster isn't always going to strike when you're at home. with your group or your support network just being all around you. You also need a support network at school, at work. When you're out and about, what are you going to do if something happens? So try to think of those things as well, and have at least 3 people at each place where you or your loved one spends a lot of time, so that they're there to help and be prepared. And parents, I mean, if you're at work and your special needs loved one is at school, you need people at your office or at your workplace who are going to be able to help you, and your child needs people at their school who are going to be ready to help them, because maybe you need to drop everything and go pick up a child, or maybe you need someone to cover for you in a meeting or to go get something for you. You never know. So it's best to have people involved. And if those people know your child, all the better, because they've got a relationship with them. It's not like, okay, all of a sudden there's this crazy situation happening, and now I have to deal with this person that I've never met before, and they say that they're going to help me. Well, that can be a little bit nerve rattling if you're already dealing with one stressor, and then all of a sudden there's this person that you've never met saying they're your mom's friend and they're going to help you out. Make sure that people know you and your child and can help. Where do we come into place with all of this stuff? Well, as your financial advisors, it's important that we help you think about saving up some emergency cash or funds somewhere to be able to help you if your family is struck by some kind of natural disaster. If your house is flooded and FEMA does a really good job of stepping in, but maybe they're slow, maybe you need cash right now, we can help you save money and invest money in a place where you can easily get it out, that it's a conservative investment so that you don't, you'll see some rise and some fall with the market, but not drastic, and not putting that money at risk. We want you to think about securing your important documents. That picture that we saw a few slides ago, that house was completely flooded. What would you do if your house was completely flooded and all of your important documents were gone with it? There are things that you can use online. eMoney has a great vault system where you can upload documents, photos, even music and videos to the eMoney vault. And it's an unlimited amount of storage, and you can keep things there. And then all you have to do is log in and have access to your information. You also might want to think about having a binder. I hope most of you already have a binder for your kiddos that talks about, maybe it includes their letter of intent, their medical histories, names and phone numbers and addresses of doctors, what their diagnoses and medications are, who your emergency support people are, all of that stuff. Create a binder and have all of that in there and be able to just be ready to grab it and go. We've done webinars about that before, and we even had a guest speaker that day talk to us about a binder, like a grab and go binder. So definitely think about that. That would be really helpful. And maybe keep a copy of that binder in with your emergency kit. That's a great way to make sure it's with you if you need to evacuate. Your medical directives. Make sure you have your medical directives taken care of so that if someone is injured or something happens, all of that doesn't need to be decided upon on the spot. You have it taken care of. And insurance, making sure that you have the right insurance and that the beneficiary of your insurance is set up correctly to where it won't affect their benefits if you leave, for example, life insurance. to your loved one with a disability, that could really have an impact on their other benefits. So you need to make sure that that is all set up correctly before disaster strikes. So involving others in terms of taking care of your family and protecting your family is super important. And here are some other things that you want to consider. We talked about having support groups or support people in areas where you might live, work, go to school. Think about this too. Sometimes when there is a tragedy or a big natural disaster in an area, sometimes phone lines are down, or maybe there are too many people trying to use the phone lines all at the same time. Again, we saw that with September 11th back in 2001, and a lot has changed since then. I mean, gosh, it's been 22 years since that happened. So a lot has changed with telecommunication and networks and all of that. But you might want to think of a family member or a contact that is outside of your area, so that if all the phone lines are tied up in your area, maybe you can call that person. For example, I mentioned my stepdad who lives in Minnesota. If there's some kind of situation happening in Texas where all the phone lines are tied up and busy and you can't reach anyone, maybe I would have a better chance of calling out to Minnesota, or he would have a chance of calling me or texting. They're out of harm's way and they can help let you know what's going on. Before anything happens, one thing to plan is that you could call your local police or fire department or hospitals or any emergency services and register with them, letting them know that you have a family member with special needs. Now, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to come riding in like a knight in shining armor, but it is very good to let them know that that you're there and that you might need some extra assistance. Again, those legal documents, if you have custody papers or guardianship or anything like that, especially if your loved one is above the age of 18, make sure that you have copies of those papers ready. Again, put that in a binder or in a folder and keep copies with your emergency evacuation kit. And then if someone else is caring for your loved one during part of the day, maybe a babysitter or a daycare center, other relatives, things like that, make sure that they know all of this information. They know who to contact, what to do, what to take with them, and how to make sure that everybody is going to be safe. Think about, as you're thinking about what you need to prepare, think about your capabilities and your needs, or your loved ones' capabilities and needs. What do they need for their personal care in terms of daily living, bathing, grooming, medications? Is there adaptive equipment that you need, that you might need to take with you if you evacuate? Or do you need help getting dressed or doing things like that, that you might need to tell someone else they need to help, they need help with this? Do you rely on water for maybe formula feedings or something like that? What will you do if you don't have access to water for several days, or you don't have electricity, or you don't have a working water heater? What are you going to do? What about a shower chair or transfer bench or any other equipment that you might need? Take those things with you. Maybe think about getting rental equipment from somewhere. How are you going to deal with that? Special utensils, anything like that. What about your electricity dependent equipment? Do you have extra batteries, extra chargers, dialysis machines? Do you have all the supplies that you need if you need to go somewhere that is not your normal setting? Do you have backup power supplies? Do you know how long that backup power supply can last you. Make sure that you have all of those things in consideration. I see that we have a comment coming in, so thank you very much, Teresa. It's good to see you here. So think about how you're going to get around after this maybe hurricane comes through. Maybe there's debris. How are you going to cope with the debris in your home and getting through, or getting through your planned disaster route? If you're blind or in a wheelchair and you have mobility issues, this could become a bigger problem for you and your family. Transportation. Do you need to have a special vehicle or accessible transportation? If you do, you need to plan ahead to make sure that somebody can come and get you or your loved one out of the situation that they're in if they need to evacuate. Those services might be especially busy during a disaster like this. So plan ahead, let them know, pre-register with them if they offer that. And errands. Do you need help? Maybe you don't need help evacuating, but you can't get out and get to the store and get the things you need. And get your medications or medical supplies. Maybe you have a trusted friend or neighbor who can help you with those things. What if the roads are blocked and you can't leave your house and your caregiver can't come to you? What are you going to do? Maybe having a neighbor or someone close by who knows how to help take care of you or your loved one would be valuable. So work with your support teams and build those support teams because they will be invaluable. So thinking about evacuating, this could happen. What if you're in a building and you need to leave your office or your home, your apartment building maybe? Can you reach and activate an alarm? Do you have an alarm? Do you have maybe kind of like a life alert button or something like that will tell other people, hey, I'm here, I need help? What are you going to do? Can you evacuate yourself? Or do you need to rely on auditory cues? And if there are no auditory cues, if the electricity is out, will you be able to evacuate? If there is no alarm going off, where are the building exits? How do you get out of a building? If your child is at school, do they know how to get out? If they're at a doctor's office or whatever, if the elevator is not working, what are you going to do? Can you read the emergency signs? Do you need print? Do you need Braille? Are the escape routes and the exits well marked? And if the electricity goes out, are they still going to be well marked? Things that, it doesn't have to be a long drawn out process to look at things when you walk into a building, but oh yes, there's an exit sign. Oh yes, there's emergency lights. It's all good. But know how to call for help when you leave the building. Know the locations of text telephones, phones that have amplification if you need those devices. Will your hearing aids work if they get wet? Think about things like that. How are you going to communicate with emergency personnel if you're nonverbal or you have any other communication issues and you don't have an interpreter with you? If your hearing aids aren't working or you don't have a word board or something like that, it's really important to know, just to think through these things. If you can't find your mobility aid, what are you going to do? What if your ramp is loose or even becomes separated from the building? Having a contact or having someone on your support team who can help you with things, even if it's just to literally pick you up and help you get out of there, maybe that's what you need. And you need to plan ahead to find someone who will be available and comfortable and know that they need to help you. And then something that you also need to consider is your service animals, your pets. If there's a disaster, are you going to be able to care for your animal during that disaster and afterwards? Do you have a secondary caregiver who can take the animal or help take care of them if you can't do it? Do you have all the appropriate licenses and tags and forms and all of that so that you will be permitted to keep your service animal with you if you go to like a public shelter? You might want to stick that in your binder that goes with your emergency supplies. So here's something that one of our participants wants to share. Teresa says, some of our children can't stand in lines. So putting yourselves out there is another issue. You have to stay ready. You have to, just for the basic necessities. So thank you so much for this webinar. There's so much to prepare for, especially with aggressive kids, truly eye-opening. And this will help truly decrease the stress level. So yes, if your child is aggressive, maybe, like I said, we want to lower the stress and lower the surprise factor and the anxiety factor as much as possible. So planning these things, letting them help you plan these things. But again, don't overdo it to make them think this is just going to be a horrible disaster and we're all going to die. You don't want that. You want them to feel comfortable and in charge and powerful, that they have the power to take care of themselves and to make things happen. Service animals. I love animals so much. So this is really important to me to reiterate that federal law does allow you to have your guide dog or your service animal in a shelter. Not all of the staff might understand that. They might think, oh, you just want to bring your pet. No, they might be unfamiliar with the fact that you are allowed to bring your service animal, and you might need to you might have that responsibility to stand up to them and say, listen, no, this is my service animal. This is allowed by federal law. And you also have to make sure, though, that you are able to care for your animal. It's your responsibility to care for your animal if you're in a shelter situation or something like that, cleaning up after them, feeding them, making sure that they're behaving and not jumping on people who don't necessarily want animals around them, or whatever the case may be. Don't forget food and water and the bowls for them, their collar, tags, any paperwork, licensing that you have to have, and even maybe a bedding item or their blankie or a toy that your pet loves so that they don't start to get anxious. There's a lot to think about and a lot to take care of. Okay, so here is a good emergency preparedness checklist that I found. Of course, when you receive these slides, if you want to print this page or copy this down or put together an emergency kit. I love the idea in this picture of putting everything in a waterproof tub, like the storage tub shown here. This is something that you could just grab and throw it in the trunk of your car and be ready to go. And what would be fun and help your children with that feeling in control, have your children help you fill this bucket of what you need. Maybe make it like a game or a scavenger hunt. Hey, let's see, let's find something. We need sleeping bags and pillows in here. So why don't you go get your sleeping bag, Mark and Maria, you go get your pillows and we'll put them in there and, make it kind of fun. We need a flashlight. Who can find a flashlight the quickest that we can put in here? Why would we need a flashlight? Talk to them about it. Make it a learning opportunity. And like I said, an opportunity to keep them in the loop, to communicate with them, to teach them, and to help them feel empowered and ready. So that is kind of the advice that we have for you on planning for a disaster. If you have any questions, I just have a few more slides left, so please put those in the chat box and I'll get to them. But we do these webinars several times a week, offering topics that are here to empower you as a family as you navigate the special needs world. We're here to help. Things like your special needs care plan, the estimate of how much it might cost to take care of your loved one in the future, your SSI and SSDI benefits, which come with Medicaid and Medicare, and how that all works, who to call, how to file for those benefits. ABLE accounts, that's one place where you can have money and not affect your child's benefits. How to designate your child as a beneficiary of your assets without reducing their benefits. That's something that we talk about a lot. A special needs trust. How do people come up with money to fund these special needs trusts? And how do I form that? How does that all work? We can help you with those things. Note that if child support is a situation in your life and that child support is going to continue beyond age 18, different arrangements will need to be made with that child support, or else it will be counted as income when it comes to their benefits, and they might lose their benefits. We've had several webinars about different residential communities, different opportunities for educational or vocational programs after high school. All of those things, the residential, vocational, and educational, might have wait lists as well. So you need to think about those things early, and we provide a lot of information about those so you can find a good fit. We've had several webinars where we talked about guardianship and alternatives to guardianship. Typically, we have an attorney present that because you do need an attorney to help you with your guardianship paperwork. So we often invite attorneys to speak on that topic. And then post-high school educational options. What are you going to do once your child is no longer going to high school every day? You don't just want them to sit on the couch and watch TV or play video games. So we do a lot of helping families find out what is available to them. This page is just a big, beautiful, isn't that beach fantastic? Man, I wish I was there presenting my webinar from this beach. But this link will give you a listing of all of our upcoming events, our upcoming webinars. You can register ahead for anything that you think you would enjoy. And then that way, you can come to the webinar as we present it live, which is typically at noon on a weekday, or we'll email you the webinar. Everybody who registers for our webinars gets an email where we send you a link to the recording and all the slides. So you can use this just to register for them and then have them sent to you. And you can watch those webinars anytime you want. That way you can still, catch up with us if you have to work during the noon hour or take care of other things or go to a doctor's appointment or what have you. This is our team of professionals. As I said, we are a holistic planning firm. We're independent, kind of like a broker, where we work with a lot of large companies that can help our families. We're not tied to just one company. We're located just outside of Houston, Texas, but we really serve families all across Texas and all across the United States. So if you know of anyone who has a special needs loved one, We can help them. We can help you. Allison and Jeff are the owners of the company. They have 2 special needs kids. And then there's myself and my husband, Andy. We have 2 kids as well. Someone from our team, most likely one of the ladies on the bottom row with those beautiful smiley faces, will be calling you or emailing you or reaching out to you in some way after today's webinar to see if you have any questions, if we can help you further, if you would like to make an appointment. So please be kind to them when we call to check in on you. If you don't want us to call, the easiest way to stop us from calling you is to just sign up for a free consultation. I promise we don't bite. It's very low pressure. We want to, first of all, answer any questions that you have related to special needs planning and benefits and financial services and all of that. We want to answer your questions. Then we want to learn a little bit more about you and your family and what struggles you're going through and what excitement you're going through in your life. And then we want to tell you about how we work, what we charge, and how that all happens. So from there, you can decide if you want to work with us. We can decide if we're a good fit to work with you, and we'll go forward from there. It's very low pressure. These meetings usually take between 30 to 45 minutes. And the benefit really for you is that you have the opportunity to speak with us directly and ask us whatever questions you might have weighing on you and keeping you up at night. So you can use the QR code to schedule that appointment yourself. It'll take you straight to our calendar and you can just pick a good day and time and get that scheduled. Or you can call us or email us and we'll set up that appointment for you. We also have links here on this page for all of our social media. Our YouTube channel, that's where all of these webinars go. Once we're finished with the webinar, we post it to our YouTube channel. We also have Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page. And of course, all of those are helpful resources to you. We aim to help as much as possible. So without anything further from me, and I don't see any further questions from you. So I hope that this has been helpful today, just to get those wheels turning, things that you need to be thinking about. Hopefully we won't need them. Hopefully we won't have a big named storm, no Andrews or Ikes or Irmas or Katrinas this year. But if you do, I hope that some of these words of wisdom turn out to be helpful for you. So have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Tomorrow's Friday. So have a great weekend and we'll talk to you soon. Reach out if there's anything that we can do to help. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.